Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another special episode of Herschel Talkers. We got special return guest, Angry Scott, and casual fan Kris. How are we doing today, boys?
Excellent.
Well, what's going on?
Good deal. Also, make sure to rate, subscribe, share it. We finally got over we got 100 subscribers, so we're trying to add to that. Anything else to be a little extra, so that would definitely help us out. Like, comment, rate, subscribe, help us out. Jumping right into it, Georgia gets I'll say a win, 16-6 over Kentucky. It was windy, it was cold, very conservative win. Stetson Bennett was 13 of 19 for 116, not the greatest performance. That pick that he had was pretty bad. They went really conservative in the second half. I think there was a stat where there was 17 out of 18 rushes. They threw 4 passes in the second half. Controversial where we were up 16-0. We were 4th and 1 on the 1, and Kirby decided to go for it. And a lot of people were saying could have kicked the field goal and you would have been up by 3 scores. But Kirby said after the game, that this was 15 years in the making. You're going to run the ball on that. You're going to show your team you can get a yard. Then they come back down on our defense, which was playing well, and go to 99-yard drive. So not a flashy win. Kentucky 6-4, not the greatest. So I'll take it. I will say this: 16-6, second straight year, and only the third time in SEC history where a team has went undefeated in back-to-back SEC conference in the SEC conference. So that's impressive. The only other teams was, I think it was 2008, 2009 Alabama, which I think they won the national title on one of those, and then I think it was Florida in the 90s. So that was very impressive. So all in all, no injuries. Hopefully Bennett plays better. 16-6 against a decent Kentucky team. I'm going to blame a little bit on the weather, they said, for the fact that they only threw it 19 times. The weather and the wind was a factor, but it was the second straight week they had to go on the road. Because it's tough to play in the SEC, Scott. You know why? You know why, Scott? Why is that?
Why is that? Because it's Kentucky.
Let me take a stab.
All right, go ahead, Kris. Why is that?
Something tells me it means slightly something. It means something.
It means less. Is that it?
Hey, it means more. Hey, it means more. Thanks, guys.
More.
Thanks for that.
There you go.
But anyway,
what I love. Hey, let me chime in here real quick, Trey. What I love about your boy Kirby Smart is, man, it's just so tough in this league, brother.
It is.
I hear you, brother. It's actually just tough in college football. Whether y'all know this or not, there's football played outside the South. Trey, you didn't know that until we started talking. But here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to give my quick take, and then, I don't know what else you have to say, but here's the deal, man. Y'all won. That's what matters. Okay. It's a 6-5 Kentucky team. It's not impressive. They were 6-4 going to the game. You were up 9-0 at halftime. Yep. They didn't score to the fourth quarter. Okay. Sloppy game. But you look at everybody else in the top 5. Yeah, you did pretty good.
Struggle bus.
Everybody had. That's the thing, man. This is the time of year. They're like, oh, you should just kill Kentucky because they lost to Vanderbilt last week. Okay. Mm-hmm. So don't give me this. It's so tough in this league. Bullshit. It's college football. Okay. It's going on all around the country. Ohio State had a close, sloppy trap game against Maryland. We won. Michigan had a trap game against Illinois. They won. TCU won on the last second. Tennessee got the doors blown off from a shitty South Carolina team. So when I looked at the Saturday slate, I said, college game day was in Bozeman, Montana. Beautiful if you've never been there. Mm-hmm. Kris, you've been there before too. So, beautiful place. But, it's because there wasn't like anything else really going on. It is phenomenal games though. So, the most important thing is, even if you didn't look good against a bad Kentucky team who lost to Vanderbilt last week, look, man, you won. And now you have another, walk through next week against Georgia Tech, right? I know Alabama played a super hard game this last week against Austin Peay. I love it how I think there was 300 fans at the Texas A&M UMass game. But y'all finally got a win. Good job, Jimbo. How's that contract looking now?
Exactly. 4-7. Yeah, jumping right into it. Yeah, I'll just call it struggle bus Saturday for the top five. I'll say that. I was thinking that the whole time. Just struggle wins all around. I agree with Scott. I think it's at the end of the season. A lot of teams banged up, just trying to gut it out. A lot of teams didn't look good. Best thing I saw, man, early on the 12 o'clock thing, man, that was precision place kick, man, from TCU. That looked like that was scripted, man. Dude trots out. Was it 1-2 back, boom, kicks it through? Like it was, I mean, I almost ran out of time. Could have been a catastrophe, but man, that was sweet.
They
TCU
said
living on
they
the
said
edge,
they
man.
practice that all the time, man. To be honest with you, I watched so much college football on Saturday. No joke. After watching game day, I had games on all day, and I was DVRing even the end of the USC UCLA game. I love the thing I love about that game, future Big Ten teams, is that they both wear their home jerseys. Which the way I think Ohio State, Michigan should be, man. They should both be wearing their home jerseys. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And then even Oregon, Utah, man. I ended up DVRing those and watching the end of them the next day. So, just stay off the social media. But I mean, look, man, it's that time of year. You got teams with everything to lose and teams with nothing to lose. So you just throw the kitchen sink at it. The thing is, it might have not been your best game of the year. But here's what we learned about this Georgia team. Here's what I've learned from watching Georgia football this year. When you have to get up for a big game, you get up.
Mm-hmm.
When you're playing Mizzou or Kentucky or Kent State, the Golden Flashes, you're like, well, we throw the jersey out there and I don't know. We'll figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, and then rolling in this week for the annual clean old-fashioned hate, going against the nerds, as we call them, Georgia Tech. Actually, Georgia Tech coming off a big win against UNC. That was surprising. On the road, beat Drake May and Heisman Trophy candidate. That was a big win. They beat him with the third-string quarterback.
Is he really, though, a Heisman Trophy candidate, man? I know they're saying that, but is he really a Heisman Trophy candidate?
I mean, look, to be non-biased, Scott, I was just looking at his numbers. I haven't really watched that. I mean, when he had, whatever it was, 37 touchdowns, 4 picks, could run around a little bit rushing. I mean, just like looking at the eye test one, that's where I was going with it. But I think that kind of hurt him a little bit. He had 1 pick, didn't throw a touchdown. So anyway, impressive win. But we can actually talk about that if you want a little bit, or even on the Buckeye Brutal Truth podcast, a little bit about the Heisman Trophy. But yeah, third-string quarterback, 35-point spread. Looking at the weather too, hate to bring up the weather, but it's going to rain. 80% chance of rain forecast could change. We're here on Tuesday. So I just want us to get in, get out, kind of punch them in the mouth. They have been playing hard, though, since they fired their coach, Jeff Collins. Haven't played in Athens since 2018 because of the COVID year, so that'll be good. And Kirby Smart did lose his first year with the triple ops and Paul Johnson. But I just want Bennett to look good. I think they're like 80-something against the rush. I mean, we just got more talent. They're going to play hard. I think they hang around the first half. I'm gonna go ahead and give a pick. 35 points might be a lot because it's raining, but I'm gonna go 38-7. They'll probably get maybe a jump touchdown and get one against their defense, but just want to kind of get in, get out. We're gonna get done at 3 or 3:30. We're gonna be ahead of LSU. We get played. Just hopefully no injuries. I know A.D. Mitchell, probably our best wide receiver, has been out 8 weeks. Practiced a little bit this week. I don't know if you've seen, but I want to get him some reps, maybe down the stretch. It'll be good to have him. This is a noon game. I think all eyes are going to be in the Shoe in Columbus. We'll get into that later or in another podcast. But this is just hopefully the annual beatdown against the Nerds, Georgia Tech. So I got 38-7. What's your guys' thoughts?
When's the last time that Georgia Tech beat Georgia? I mean, like 15 years?
No, actually 2016.
Okay, and what was the last time before that? Like 15 years?
Yeah, it was our overall series, I forgot to look, is lopsided. It's like, I should know that, 60-something to 21. 80s and 90s it was one, but since like Mark Rick and Kirby's gotten there, it's been domination. It's not really a rivalry game.
Yeah, man, I don't know much about Georgia Tech. They did beat Carolina. And speaking about, I know Drake May has good numbers, but when I say, and that's not saying that he's not having a good year, but if you were on a 2-loss Carolina team that's not getting a lot of attention, usually the Heisman is the best player of the best team. Okay.
That's right.
So unless somebody's just like, hey, nobody's standing out, but you've got CJ Stroud, I think is in the front row, man. Hey, look, I'd love to win and have him win the Heisman. As a Ohio State fan, I'd much rather win a national championship. Heisman's just, cherry on top of the sundae. So, but Blake Corum, maybe. I mean, Blake Corum's will play if he balls out on Saturday. But I seen a little report that he might not be playing. But welcome to our world, because we've been having running backs banged up all year. I will say this real quick, Trey. I mean, I think it's just going to be a beatdown. Unless that would be a huge upset, man. I mean, what's the spread on the game? Georgia Tech.
35.5. A lot.
I think y'all cover, man.
Yeah.
Now I've got a question for you, Trey, being, with a meaning more in the SEC. So Georgia, you got to win, okay? But then you got Tennessee. Wait, hold on a second. South Carolina just scored again, okay? So, I mean, dude, losing to a horrible South Carolina team, okay? Remember when Kentucky was like a top 10 team or top 11 team or something? They're 6-5. Your mighty Florida Gators lost to Vanderbilt, who has now beaten Kentucky and Florida in back-to-back weeks.
Hot, baby. The hot Commodores.
You got the Mizzou Tigers, man. The 5-6 Mizzou Tigers. What I'm saying is, I know it's supposed to mean more, but I'm looking at the SEC. And, hey, Texas A&M, you finally got that window against UMass and all 300 people there. But what happened? What happened to Arkansas and Auburn? Is that Arkansas and Ole Miss? Is that because Lane Train's heading to Auburn?
I think he is. That is the rumor, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, Auburn, man, they beat somewhat sacrificial lamb, didn't they? Who'd they play? What are with these late November sacrificial lambs?
This is almost cupcake. This is almost cupcake November, they call it.
Who did Auburn play, man? Auburn played some kind of joke of a school as well, right? So
yeah, they're 5-6. They're playing hard for Cadillac Williams, trying to get him a job.
I mean, who did they play? Do you know who they played last week? I'm gonna see if I can look that up right quick. Looky there, man, where my wife went to school, Western Kentucky. And it was close for a while, and then they come out and they beat them 41-17. What I'm saying is, I've been told repeatedly how it means more. But
I didn't do the scheduling. I didn't do the scheduling.
November, I guess. So now what I'm saying is, look, and understand this: the Big Ten is mostly garbage this year. It's mostly garbage. Ohio State, Michigan, maybe Penn State. I don't know. You and
how about that other
if,
conference, man? Side of the conference, y'all got some three-loss teams over there.
That's what I'm saying. If the three of us had a football team right now, we might win the Big Ten West. Okay. But when I'm looking at the SEC, man, you got Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss.
Look at the rankings.
They got the doors blown off. I mean, it's what I'm saying is, you got Georgia, LSU, and Alabama. And then the other two, I guess you got Tennessee and Ole Miss. But how good are those teams? They're getting blown out by pieces of garbage. Do you see what I'm saying?
Hey, real quick, over to Kris, what's your thoughts on this? I hate to say we're leaving you out on any kind of prediction. I know you don't know. Georgia Tech's in Atlanta, by the way, if you knew that.
Yeah, I did know that. Based on how the Dogs have played yesterday or this past weekend and the weather.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, they still beat the brakes off of the nerds at Georgia Tech, but I don't know if they necessarily cover. So let's go 38-6.
All right, I like it. Mine was 38-7. I got you. I agree with that.
Hey, so I'm going 38-12.
All right, I like it. I guess I'll kick off some field goals in. I like it.
Yeah, rack off some field goals.
Hopefully no injuries. Get in, get out. That's all I'm worried. These injuries down the stretch. Like no Jalen Carter injuries, no D-line. Just keep that defense going. Bennett, don't have any of the running backs, the linemen. We're getting pretty healthy, I'll say that. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hey, you want to catch momentum, right? I mean,
exactly.
Get you going into the SEC and possibly further. But
that's correct. We got the big game.
From the casual guy, play like number one, guys. Dominate.
We got to touch more just to bring up this ass whipping. I was out at a bar. I was watching the first. I was like, I could not believe this. Gamecock Shamecocks against the Vols Tards. My friend Uncle Lou can give a Vol Tard a hug out there. They need it after this. 63-38. If you would have told me, I think it was like 21.5 point spread. Spencer Rattler I think it had 8 touchdowns and 12 interceptions the whole year going into this. Throws for 6 touchdowns. He looks like Heisman Trophy winner after this. 438 yards. They did put up some points. Tennessee 38. Feel really bad for Hendon Hooker kid. Seems like a bad guy. I mean, seems like a good guy. 3 touchdowns, 247, blows his knee out, ACL done for the year. Just the worst time. I had a buddy that was sitting in the stands. He said, I hate this place. Columbia, South Carolina sandstorm is going all night on repeat. Just beat down, blew them out, flat tires rolling in there from Tennessee. You got exposed that defense. You got a gimmick offense at the end of the day, and they just caught a hot South Carolina Gamecock team. Anyway, 63-38. I was in shock.
I did enjoy, Kris. I'm sorry, Trey. I did enjoy your little meme there about Tennessee heading into the playoffs. I'm going to give you some stats they had at the game. So this is the points of that night is the most they've had against an SEC opponent since 1995. Okay, sure. They gave up 65 to Ole Miss. Here's another fun little stat. Hey, total of the game. I mean, the end of the game there, you got it up 63 to 38. The other stat is that's also the most points they've allowed since 1893. Okay, is Tennessee. They said they gave up 70 in 1893. So, man, I mean, it was the worst of days. But I mean, I actually thoroughly enjoyed watching the beatdown. That's what I did.
Exactly. And we also were talking about it earlier. In Columbia, South Carolina, they ran out of fireworks for the touchdowns, which is great. This is in South Carolina where it's legalized. I think they had the fireworks all year, man. They should have an unlimited supply, but they probably did not planning on getting 9 touchdown celebration fireworks that night. So great. What was your thoughts, Kris? I know you're loving it. I know you might be in another country, but I'm sure you caught the highlights.
I caught some highlights, and looks like Spencer Rattler had himself a game. So
that's right.
Yeah, it's real shocking to see Tennessee crap the old bed, but that's what it is.
Put some diapers on that kid.
Yeah,
man. After that ass whipping and everything, Angry Scott and Krabs were pissed. I think if you were a Voltard fan or a Volunteer fan, Vols, you would need a tequila to wash down those tears. Got 0 carbs, 0 sugar, gluten free. They needed a lot of huckleberry that night, elderberry. Drink all these. You should have drank you an 8-pack if you're a Tennessee fan. But
what I would prefer, here's what I would like. I want secondhand alcohol. So what I like to do is I like to give these to some Volunteer fans, and as they're crying, I would then like to go ahead and put out my cup to get some of those tears with the alcohol, little mixture in right there of both sorrow and despair.
Exactly. My personal favorite is the elderberry. To get 20% off, the discount code is HUSTLE at vivatequilaseltzer.com. 20% off is the discount code HUSTLE. Try huckleberry elderberry for getting that round of golf, pre-game, post-game, depressed Tennessee fans. You can try out vivatequilaseltzer.com. Try it out. And then we could jump right into it, tuck right in. I think it's hot off the press. We are here Saturday. I'm talking about Tuesday night here. Updated college football rankings. Nothing much really changed in the top 4. LSU being 5. The one that's really surprising me, we can touch on this.
LSU?
Clemson number 8 is ranked lower than Alabama with 2 losses. What's your thoughts on that? And I feel like there's a lot of hype that the new Tennessee is LSU with 2 losses. What's your thoughts?
I'll give you my quick thoughts, and then Kris, I want to get your thoughts too. Yep. Georgia, you should win Saturday. So unless you slip on the banana peel and lose by, not that you'd ever lose 63 to 38 like Tennessee did. Well, at least you'd hope not, right? So even if you were to then go and lose, assume you win on Saturday, even if you were to go and lose the SEC championship, you're in. Now, I hope we just embarrass Michigan and we go now. Here's what I'll say about Ryan Day. He was good in a revenge game against Clemson. I think they're going to be ready for this, and it's at home. I will say, and we'll talk about that in another podcast, that Michigan's run game is for real. Okay. Now, but there's a chance that Ohio State wins, man, then even with like a close loss to the Big Ten championship, I think they're in. However, there's a better chance that if Ohio State loses a close game, there's a chance to get in because Michigan's out of conference is garbage. TCU wins that they're in. Look, man, LSU's got the only question is that LSU USC. I mean, if they go and they got 2 losses, but I'm telling you, if there's a Pac-12 championship and USC runs the table, man, I think they're probably in because they had a 1-point loss at Utah. And that's a pretty good team. I think it's that top 6 outside of barring some kind of craziness. People want to hear this, man, but there's a back door for maybe Alabama to get in. The reason I think Clemson's out, barring even more craziness, is because, dude, you got destroyed at Notre Dame, and Ohio State took care of Notre Dame. Oregon, man, now you got 2 losses, and you had that big loss from Georgia. I mean, here's the thing I'll say about the college football playoff ever since I had this 2014. If you have a massive loss, forget about it. That'll put you in. And so far, a 2-loss team has not got in. That's what's going to also be tough with LSU because you went and you had that close loss. You can get a close loss, but you got blown out at home by Tennessee. So that's gonna be tough. So I mean, I think everyone below 7, barring just catastrophe. Well, I'll say Clemson, even though it's a very low chance. I think everyone else, forget about it. You're done. You know what I mean? Everyone below 8, but even then, I think it's in that top 6. I think you might shuffle some of those around. What are your thoughts there, Kris?
No, it's about the same. I mean, top 6 seem to be pretty well locked in. They take care of business over the next couple of weeks in the conference tournaments, and they're basically in. But again, unless something just completely wild happens, then we're going to see our first 2-loss team come in. But again, it's got to be off the charts, statistically rare type chaos in football for that to happen.
So let me ask you this: if USC and LSU run the table, who gets in?
I'd say Southern Cal gets in. Gives a little bit more of a broader viewership. I mean, you hate to say it like that, but I do think they look at markets and potential incomes like that. I mean, you've already got Georgia would be in for the SEC. The winner of Ohio State, Michigan stays in. TCU, the long shot. Everyone loves that story. And then again, Southern Cal for the West. I think that'd be the ideal CFP's offering to the nation.
Hey, let me run a doomsday for Georgia here because I heard this the other day and it had me thinking. Let me run this past you. So say LSU beats us close, right? A 2-loss or an SEC champion has never missed the playoffs, so that will bump them in, right? Ohio State wins, so they're in. They probably move. TCU wins. USC wins out when they just beat UCLA as a top 15 team. If they beat Notre Dame, is going to be a top 15 team, and they're probably going to play Oregon, who could be top 10 or wherever they're ranked. Would that leave Georgia out, who is not a conference champion?
So here are my thoughts, right? My thoughts on it are
just saying.
Unless you just get the doors blown off, and I'm talking like a Clemson versus Notre Dame, meaning if LSU did that to you, I think you still get in. I mean, Georgia still gets in.
I mean, we would drop down the 4th seed. Like, where would you drop? We're going to drop. You guys would
Here's
move
what
up.
they'll do. Here's what they'll say. If they put it into, I'm still not convinced, man, that, I mean, there's still a lot of football to play, but I'm not convinced they'll leave out USC. They don't want to do it, but there's been precedent. It's different because it means more in the SEC and all that bullshit, whatever. But when Penn State beat Ohio State in 2016, Ohio State had 1 close loss that Penn State got into the playoff. Penn State goes on, has 2 losses, I believe. Or did they? I have to double check. I think they had 2 losses, but they won the Big Ten. Okay. But one of them was a huge loss to Michigan, kind of like what happened to LSU. I'm not convinced that LSU would just not still get left out because of that big loss to Tennessee. Was it 23-point loss?
Yeah. Even though they won the SEC championship?
I mean, even
they're number 5 now, too.
Yeah, I know. But look, man, whether they like to admit it or not, here's what they're going to do. They're going to say, hey, they're trying to generate conversation. And everybody at USC is like, oh, man, we have a shot to get in, all this other stuff. So, I mean, they're trying to generate conversation. And the other thing is, I mean, there's going to be someone who's pissed off. I mean, it always happens. So, extreme. It has to be something stupid crazy for Georgia to get left out. You know what I mean? That's and the other thing. Here's the other thing they'll do. You watch. Even if it made sense to make it 1-4 LSU versus Georgia, they won't do that. If they did put both teams in, because then they'll be like, oh, that guarantees a spot for the SEC. I'm like, as a non-SEC fan, I'd rather see just one SEC SEC team instead of two, because then if they go and they both win, then you see an SEC title game. So, I mean, what are your thoughts there, Kris?
Yeah.
Dude, I completely lost track, but at the end of the day,
you forgot to carry the one, man. Carry the one.
Yeah, exactly. Again, if LSU just so happens to upset Georgia, I find it extremely hard to completely pull them out of the top four.
Gotcha.
Completely difficult.
I think the backdoor dark horse, sorry to interrupt, to get in because they went out and I think they got some love. I still think Clemson's dangerous if some things happen just because it's ACC. If they beat North Carolina, who is 17th, that'll be a good win. I know it was a bad loss to Notre Dame, but if Notre Dame beats USC, that's going to pad then even more. It's going to make that loss. I know they got blown out, but I mean they might move to top 12. So you'll say, hey, they won the ACC. You lost to top 12 Notre Dame. I know it was 3 touchdowns, but I'm just looking at that. If UFC loses.
But then if Ohio State loses to Michigan in a close game and Ohio State beat Notre Dame 21-10, then you got to put Ohio State in front of Clemson.
All I'm saying is just keep these fuckers out. I don't want to hear them at all. Go to your New Year's Day bowl and get Saban retired. You're not backing your way in. Some guy put some 9 game losing scenario of how Alabama gets in. No, you're not getting in. Just stop.
Nah, they're toast for the year.
Yeah, they are. You didn't win the conference and you got 2 losses.
So you're saying there's a chance.
You know who I really want to play though? If I was just being easy, I want some of these at number 4, man. We'll blast them kids. We're like, hey, your pumpkin is going to get smashed at midnight, boys. There's talent. I mean, you have to come to Atlanta and play. This can be a home thing for us. That's another thing why I want to win out is we're going to have that going to be Mercedes-Benz pretty much in our backyard home game for that first playoff game. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how it plays out, man, for sure.
Yeah, man. Hey, anything on the way out, guys?
Go Bucks.
Take care of business.
Vivatequila.com. Hey, let's beat up on the nerds. That's another episode of Herschel Talkers, and we're out.
Like and subscribe.
Thanks, guys.